Basketball is one of the greatest sports for many different reasons. In my opinion, it's one of the greatest because it gives players a way to express themselves. Anytime a player makes a great play or they think they're great in general, they start to get that ego, and even though it's not necessarily a good thing, it's not a bad thing either. Having an ego and even being labeled as quote unquote cocky isn't as bad as it sounds. Yes, it would be a perfect world if everybody was humble, but it wouldn't be so entertaining if someone made a dunk or a highlight type of play and they just walked down the court. You can say what you want, but you can't lie. There's just something special about seeing a player get so excited and passionate about doing what they love. But however, with all that being said, in today's video, I'm just here to tell you guys the top 5 most cockiest players of all time. This is the part 3 to a series I brought to the channel, and you guys absolutely love it, where we cover the cocky players in high school basketball. On the last video, I asked for 1,000 likes if you want to see a part 3, and you guys killed it, and we're almost at 2,000 likes. So hey, Matt's a fan of the people, and I'm gonna bring y'all what y'all want, so this is the part 3, and if y'all want to see a part 4, let's aim for 1,300 likes for another one. And before we get into this video, I just gotta say one more little thing. Just because I'm putting these players on the cocky list and labeling them as cocky, it's not a bad thing. In my opinion, these players have that slight ego and just get a little too excited out there on the court. So if you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Join the family, hit that subscribe button, and leave a like for more. And without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Coming in at number 5 on our list, we have a major throwback. He was labeled as one of the best dunkers in high school basketball. We have no other than Quay Parker. In high school, Parker could fly. He had over a 40-inch vertical, but it looked like he was jumping 50 inches in the air. He's also most famous for having a mixtape on Ball's Life with over 2 million views just showcasing his jumping ability. In high school, he was a 4-star recruit and also had an overall grade of 80 on ESPN. He had a lot of hype with having all that exposure on YouTube. People were starting to find out who he was, and he also was ranked on ESPN. Eventually though, that hype got to his head and he started to get a little too cocky out there on the court. His overall game wasn't really that smooth, he didn't work that hard, and his 3-point shot, it was just non-existent. When he started to gain a lot of his attention, he was in roughly 10th grade and he just had a slow decline ever since. A main reason for his decline, in my opinion, was his ego out there on the court. Anytime he walked into the gym, he thought he was all that when he really wasn't. It's really sad to see fame like that get to players' heads because they don't even think they gotta work hard anymore. I know it seems like I'm killing him, but I'm just stating the facts. On the flip side, he was a pretty solid high school basketball player, but nothing more after that. He could give you 15 to 20 points per night, but that's not that much in high school, especially when you're a 4-star recruit. Anytime he did one of his crazy dunks, he would walk down the court like he's the best thing there ever was, and he just wasn't. And like I said, after high school, it was just a downhill slope. And for all those reasons stated right there, this is why Quay Parker comes in at number 5 on our list. Coming in at number 4 on our list, we have another high flyer. He went to Duke. A lot of you probably know who he is. We have Cassius Stanley. Stanley was a phenom in high school. Ever since his freshman year, everybody projected him to be the next big thing, and he's sort of living up to that. Overall, for his high school career, it was very solid, and even at Duke in this recent year, it was a decent year. Unless something crazy happens, he's probably going to be in the NBA very soon, so we gotta give credit to him, way to live up to the hype. On the other hand, Stanley in high school, he did have that ego to him. Like I stated, he was a high flyer, and it's normally the high flyers and the small point guards who have that cockiness to them. Anytime Cassius would make a crazy play, he would either stare down his opponent or look at the crowd. Oftentimes, you could even catch him saying something to his opponents like, "You can't guard me," and so many more things. And I can't fault the guy because in high school, no one really could check him. But this is a cocky video, and that's not the most humblest thing I've ever seen. Very similar to our previous player, he got a lot of hype and attention at a very, and I mean very young age. And honestly, that's the worst thing possible for a high school recruit, is to get all that attention at a young age because they start to think they're invincible. If he didn't get all that attention in 9th grade, I don't even think he'd be on this list, and he'd probably be on the humble list. Like I said though, when young kids get attention, they don't know what to do with it, and they start to think they're the next up and coming great thing. And what do kids start to do? They start to develop that swagger and cockiness, and that's exactly what kind of happened. Everywhere he went, he acted like a big shot. Anytime he made a highlight type of play, he would stare at the crowd and say something to opponents, and that just doesn't really appeal to the humble side. I would have him higher on this list, but I don't have a problem with most of the things he does because he backs them up. So for those reasons, this is why he comes in at number 4 on our list. Coming in at number 3, I've seen his name all over the comment section in the previous 2 videos we've done on our players, and I think 3 is a very good fit for him, and he could also be on the humble list. Anyways, we'll get into that later. We have no other than Mickey Williams himself. Mickey Williams, man, where do we even start? Alright, let me get serious. I don't know where I saw that, but I started calling him that. Anyways, Mikey Williams, where do we even start? You're not gonna find a more clouded 16-year-old basketball player anywhere in the country. This is the guy. All eyes are on him and he knows it, so that's why he started to develop that cocky attitude. I'm not gonna try to spend too much time on him because we all know why he's on this list. There's multiple reasons, but let me just name a quick few. Recently in an AAU tournament, he made a good dunk and it was awesome. And he just walked down the court. He didn't even pass half court and he was flexing for the cameras. And it's not just that. Anytime he does a crazy dunk, he looks for the cameras, looks in the stands, stares at the opponent, and there's so many more. And I've even seen him do that Tyler Hero snarl here and there, and I gotta say it's even better than Tyler Hero's because that was awful. And I know what you're sitting there thinking, yo, how is Mikey not one? But just hear me out. This kid averaged 30 points per game last year as a freshman on the varsity level. If you average 30 points per game as a freshman, you get the right to do whatever you want after a good dunk. And honestly, I think if we was all as good as Mikey, we'd be doing even more than what he's doing. And I gotta give him some credit. He never really talks about how good he is at basketball or anything like that. A lot of players we've had on this cocky series, they all have one thing in common. They always trash talk to the opposing team and opposing players guarding them. However, if you think about it and watch the clips, there's no real video evidence of Mikey talking trash to opponents. Yeah, here and there he'll say something to fans, but that's fans, you know, that's not that big of a deal. I think we can all agree though, 3's a very good fit for him on this list because he is somewhat humble if you think about it. On the other hand, he does have that ego when he walks in the gym. It's just by the way he walks. You guys know what I'm talking about. He knows he's the man. Is he humble? Slightly. Is he cocky? Yeah, so that's why 3's a good fit because he's right in the middle. And for all those reasons right there, this is why he comes in at number 3 on our list. Coming in at number 2 on our list, we have a guy who was ranked as the #1 overall player for 4 years. A lot of you probably know who he is. We have Kyrie Walker. Mr. Kyrie, we all know this guy. He was regarded as one of the best players and the best prospects, but he sort of, I don't want to say fallen off, but he did fall off a little bit. He was the #1 overall player for multiple years and a 5-star recruit, but later in his recruitment, he dropped to a 4-star and not even a top 10 player. A main reason for that was because of a lot of family reasons, and he did opt out to play his senior season, but that's a whole different video for another day. Let's get into why he's on this list. He's had that cocky attitude ever since he came onto the scene in middle school. Anytime he does a dunk, he stares down his opponents, talks trash, looks at the audience, and just so many things. He doesn't just do one of the things, he does all of the things, and this is why he's so high on the list. And ever since his basketball career prolonged and advanced, he had that same attitude. He had that I'm better than you attitude and you can't guard me. Not only did he feel that way, but he would tell his opponents that multiple times. Do not get it twisted. Am I saying talking trash is bad? Absolutely not. It's a part of the game, and when I played basketball, I even did it. But I gotta say, talking trash to your opponents after buckets, it's not humble. And keep in mind, being humble isn't really a good thing because look at Michael Jordan. You think he was humble? No, he was cocky. He knew he was the best and he let you know about it. So just because all these players on this list, do not think it's a bad thing because most of these players are very good at basketball. Back on our topic with Kyrie though, if you watched any of his mixtapes, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to refer to them as Julian Newman, but they kind of have a similar attitude. And I think Walker's attitude got worse as his basketball career continued on because he did drop in the rankings. When you're not listed at #1 anymore, you have to try to fight and get your spot back and let your opponents know about it. And he did just that, and I think 2's a very good fit for him. And with all that being said, this is why he comes in at number 2 on our list. We've made it to everybody's favorite part of the video, the #1 overall player. Once again, if you ain't subscribed, what are you doing? I see you. You're not subscribed. Hit that subscribe button, join the family, and leave a like. Like I said, 1,300 likes and we'll do a part 4. I gotta say, I've been loving this series and it seems like you guys are as well, so let's continue it on. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the #1 most cockiest player in history of high school basketball. Let's get into it. Coming in at #1 on our list, it's probably gonna be very controversial. I don't think it is because you gotta look at the facts. We have no other than Matt McClure. Matt McClure, that's a name you guys probably haven't heard in a while. I'm not gonna say he fell off, but he lost all that attention and height once he got to the next level. In high school, this guy was a beast. You don't see too many 6'1" white guys flying out of the gym with a 44-inch vertical. But however, he was that guy and he's a different breed, I gotta say. When you see a 6-foot white guy, what do you think? Oh yeah, he's a shooter, but Mac is a slasher. McClure was a beast in high school. He was one of the most electric point guards you will ever watch play. He averaged 30 points per game, carried his team to a state championship, and so many more achievements. But however, with all that good stuff being said, we gotta talk about the downside. How do I say this? Well, let's just start with this. McClure, he wasn't humble. We can all agree on that. And he also had a big ego. He wasn't cocky off the court, but on the court, it's a whole different story. I know a lot of you right now are running to the comments, yo, he shouldn't be on this list, he shouldn't be number one, but just hear me out and listen to what I gotta say. I might just change your mind because I didn't think he was gonna be on this list until I watched the film. Pay attention to it. Anytime he had a good dunk, the first thing he would do was run to that camera because he knew people was recording his games and flex forward or say something. There's also been multiple clips of him hitting a three-pointer and yelling at his opponent that he can't guard him. And it doesn't just stop there, there's some more. Every time he went to an away game, they would boo him, but that's normal for a top player. And when he was in the warm-up lines, he wouldn't really say nothing, but when the game started, it was a whole different story. Anytime he make a shot, layup, dunk, or three-pointer, he'd look at that student section and say something. And one of his most notable things is when he would make a crazy type of dunk, he'd look at that camera and do the shrug. And he also stated in a public interview after one of his games that he feels like he's the best player and no one can stop him. And once again, I gotta state this because a lot of people feel like I'm just raving on these kids, but I'm not. All of this stuff is not a bad thing. If you don't think you're the best, nobody will. Am I faulting McClure for saying he's the best and no one can stop him? No, because I felt the same way in high school. But the definition of humble is not giving yourself any credit, and that's not humble and that's slightly cocky. And I got him at number one for this main reason right here. The definition of cocky is when you're overconfident in your abilities. Although he dominated in high school, and I give it to him, no one can really stop him. At the next level in college, people are stopping him and people can guard him. That athletic ability doesn't really matter at the next level as much as you think because a lot of players are very athletic. So all that stuff you was saying in high school, McClure, it really didn't translate over to the next level, so that's why I got you at number one on our list. Every single player on this list has one thing in common. They were all great basketball players in high school, but they had that ego and cockiness attitude. I know I've said it a lot, but I gotta emphasize it. Just cause you're cocky, it's not even a bad thing. And if I'm being honest, I know it's not right and we shouldn't live like this, but I think it's better to be cocky than humble. If you're humble, a lot of people take that as a weakness and they're just gonna walk all over you. But if you're confident and overconfident, which is the definition of cocky, people aren't really gonna walk over you. And if you're a hooper out there, whether you're in middle school, high school, college, or even the NBA, you gotta have that swagger. That's one thing about basketball and why it's one of the greatest sports, because you gotta have that mentality out there that you're the best. If you don't think you're the best, your opponents for sure won't, so you better think you are. But hey man, with all this being said, that's about gonna wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Join the family, hit that subscribe button and leave a like for more. 1,300 likes and we'll do a part 4. Love you guys, thank you for all the support, and as always, let's be great. I'm out, y'all. Peace.